Welcome to our Friday Tech Talk. We'll get started in just a minute. So welcome to our Friday Tech Talk. Every week we get together and as engineers, we show you a little bit about what we're playing with and what we're focusing on and just some fun stuff. So lately I've been thinking about containers and Docker and Kubernetes. I'm talking to more and more customers and they're sort of going in that direction. And it sort of reminded me of back in the days when I was and be running down the hall and I need a machine started up to do a test, or I need a machine to do a deployment. And that's one of the nice things about containers these days is easy to spin up, maybe from the command line, just spin it up and now you've got this whole environment set up. Though that doesn't flow real well with your CI/CD pipeline. As an example, you can see on my screen a bunch of applications and all in the pipeline necessary to be working to get something rolled out from your initial analysis. So we have this product called ConnectALL, and this ConnectALL we use to integrate, synchronize different applications across the board. And we also have this feature within ConnectALL where we can create new universal adapters. So we want to hook up to something, say like Kubernetes, find out its API and create a new universal adapter for that. Over the last few years, we've created a bunch of these free universal adapters that you're free to download. Docker and Qtest and GitLab and Jenkins and Eclipse. So a whole range of different adapters that we've created, adapters, connectors, whatever you'd like to call it. So I created one for Kubernetes, and what that allows me to do is I can be in some ITSM system, Jira, ServiceNow, Azure DevOps, and I can say I want to spin up a container. So like in this example, I could come over to my Jira and maybe I want to run a test, for example. So I want to spin up a container. Let me get into my project. Let's say I wanted to do a deployment of Nginx maybe. So I can give it some name, like host name, for example, the image that I want to spin up. And as usual, if you're familiar with Kubernetes, you have these other parameters that are used for services, etc. I won't go into the details, but if you give those all names, you can say how many replicas. I want 30 replicas running. My laptop, I couldn't do that, but by default, we'll just crank up one replica. So create that ticket, and ConnectALL is polling for that. As soon as ConnectALL sees that, it's going to spin up that container over in Kubernetes. So there it spun up that container over in Kubernetes. I also have my Kubernetes dashboard running over here. So I can see that that container just spun up. And of course, with this dashboard, I can scale up and scale down. Another thing that can be done is the data goes vice versa. It can come the other way too. So let's say from the command line, I wanted to spin up a new container in Kubernetes. And then as soon as that's spun up, then the presence of that container is going to be synced back through ConnectALL, back to Jira. And then I can see that change over in Jira. So those are a couple of cool things that we can do with Kubernetes. Another thing that we can do is that we can, maybe it's not a simple image that you want to spin up. Here's the other one that just came up from that I spun up from the command line. But say we wanted to do something different, like we want to spin up a more complex container, UGS.yaml, for example. And instead of an image, we're going to spin it up with a whole YAML represented in JSON. So let me see if I still have my, I don't. So let me go grab my JSON that I have somewhere over here. There we go. So here's my deployment JSON that represents what I want to spin up. Let me try that again. I copy paste didn't work. Okay, let's try it one more time. There we go. Okay, so here's my JSON that specifies everything about my container. And then I want to make sure my two names match. And then you notice I can have all the other parameters that you would use, you know, how many replicas you want, the labels, all that information. And then do the create. And now it's going to spin up that container in Kubernetes, not based just on a simple image, but on that entire specification from a JSON. And there it goes. There it was just spun up. And maybe a brief introduction into some of the other things. Pretty diagrams, and you can use this value stream. Maybe you're thinking about what processes you have internally and you want to diagram them out just for documentation means, for example. And that would be really useful, just having a conversation internally. You could just drag connectors over and you can start defining the connection between that application and create an application if you'd like. So really, really interesting and fun tool to use. We have metrics so you can see how much data is getting synchronized. Also an analytic part. But anyway, that's my general introduction to how we do our universal adapters to create new connectors like Kubernetes. On top of that, we have about 40 other out-of-the-box connectors, in case you're interested. That's my talk, kind of quick, but it explains the overview of how we would do that. Does anyone have any questions they would like for me to answer? I have one question. I was asked, is this a plugin that we install somewhere? Do we have to install something in Kubernetes or Jira or ServiceNow? ConnectALL is not a plugin. It's a separate application that you install on a machine, maybe in a VM. We even have a Docker instance where you could use Docker and spin up your ConnectALL. So no, it's not a plugin. It's a separate application that you manage, maintain, and normally it's your administrators that manage that by creating new integrations, either directly on the value stream board, like I showed you a minute ago, or you can go into the integration themselves like this, and you can pick and choose what new integration you want to create. That's all the questions that I have at this time, but thanks for coming to my little webinar. If you have any questions, you can reach out to sales@connectall.com, and we'd be glad to answer your questions and help you with your value stream integrations. Thank you.